All right, let's talk about something. Performance testing. Pretty much every engineering team out there will tell you, oh yeah, we do that. But here's the real question. Is it a genuine, baked-in discipline, or is it just a box you have to check off before you can finally ship? We're going to dig into why that difference is so huge and what happens when you get it wrong. This quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's the perfect picture of a slow-motion disaster. Everything seems fine, your dashboards are green, but under the surface, the rot is setting in. The system is getting slower, it's costing you more and more money to run, and you're one unexpected event away from total chaos. This is the reality when performance is an afterthought. And that, right there, that leads us to the heart of this whole thing. What I like to call the performance testing lie. See, there's a world of difference between running a quick load test once a quarter and truly embedding a rigorous, continuous performance discipline deep inside your engineering culture. So, okay, why should you really care about this? Well, because performance isn't just some abstract number for engineers to argue about. No way. It has a direct, measurable, and often really painful impact on the business. It shows up right there on the bottom line. And this is where it gets really interesting, how it all breaks down. First up, revenue. Cold, hard cash. Amazon famously discovered that for every 100 milliseconds of delay, they lost 1% in sales. Think about that. Second, your infrastructure bill. Every time you ship inefficient code, you're literally just paying for more servers than you need. And third, outage risk. If your system is already struggling on a normal day, what do you think is going to happen when a real traffic spike hits? You've got zero headroom. And if you want a textbook example of these risks turning into reality, look no further than the healthcare.gov launch. They did a tiny little test before launch, and it crashed the site. And they launched anyway. The site just completely folded under a load of about 2,000 users, which is nothing, really. And the final price tag, it went from under $100 million to $1.7 billion, all because they didn't do realistic load testing. I absolutely love this quote because it just reframes the entire problem so perfectly. Every single time a developer merges code that makes the system just a tiny bit slower, it's like a new hidden tax on your cloud budget. It's this tiny little drip, drip, drip that quietly drains your money month after month. And sometimes it's not a silent tax at all. Sometimes it's a lightning strike. Knight Capital, a huge financial firm, lost $440 million in 45 minutes. Why? A bad deployment went out to just one server that hadn't been tested properly, and it went completely haywire. A year later, the company basically didn't exist anymore. And this isn't just ancient history. Remember Robinhood in 2020? The market was going crazy. It was exactly when their users needed them the most, and the whole platform just went dark. The reason was painfully simple. Their infrastructure just could not handle the traffic. The result? A $10 million fine, sure, but the damage to their reputation was probably even worse. So let's just step back and look at the big picture. The cost of not doing this right is absolutely staggering. If you just add up the financial damage from the few failures we've talked about, you're looking at over $2.5 billion. And that doesn't even begin to cover the hit to their reputations, which, can be the thing that really kills you in the long run. All right, so we've definitely established the why. The stakes are incredibly high. Now let's switch gears and talk about the what. You see, performance testing isn't just one thing. It's a whole family of different tests. Let's break down the big ones and figure out what questions they're actually trying to answer. Think of this table as your performance testing decoder ring. Load testing, that's your bread and butter. It answers the question, can we handle a totally normal day? Stress testing is about finding the edge. Where does this thing actually break? And what does it look like when it does? Spike testing simulates a sudden rush, like a Super Bowl ad. Soak testing is about endurance. It's looking for those slow burn problems like memory leaks that only show up after a day of running hard. And finally, scalability testing asks a really important business question. If we throw more money at this, do things actually get faster? Okay, listen up, because this is one of the most important ideas in this whole field. Averages lie. They are completely misleading. If you have 99 users who have a super fast experience and one user who waits 30 seconds, your average looks pretty good, but that one user is real and they are furious. That's why we focus on percentiles, the P95 or P99, because that tells us the story of our unhappiest users, and that's the real measure of your system's performance. Okay, right, so the stakes are crystal clear, and you know the lingo now. But knowing what all these tests are isn't the same as knowing how to actually put them into practice. So where on earth do you even begin? Let's get practical. This is the Practitioner's Playbook. We're going to walk through a really straightforward 5-step workflow that top-tier teams use to make performance a part of their everyday routine, not some special event. This whole workflow is about being systematic. Step 1, you have to model your traffic. Don't just make up numbers, use real data from production to see how users actually behave. Step 2, generate that load. Use modern tools like K6 or Gatling to simulate it. Step 3, observe the system. You can't fix what you can't see, so things like APM and tracing are absolutely non-negotiable. Step 4 is the big one. This is the real game changer. Automate this in your CI/CD pipeline. This is how you catch those little performance regressions with every single pull request before they ever hit production. And finally, step 5, test in production. You have to do it carefully using things like canary releases because your staging environment, I promise you, will never be a perfect copy of the real world. And you know, this brings us to the final and honestly, the most important point of all. The tools are great, the workflows are necessary, but they're not enough. The real transformation, the real game changer, is when performance stops being an item on a checklist and starts becoming part of your team's DNA. This slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? The two worlds. In the checklist mindset, testing is this big, scary thing you do right before a major launch. It's viewed as a cost, and it's always someone else's job. But in the discipline mindset, tests run on every single change. Performance is seen as an investment in a better product, and most importantly, it's everyone's job. From the junior dev to the principal engineer, everyone owns it. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about for your own team. Is performance just a box you have to check to get your code out the door? Or is it a fundamental part of the engineering culture that you are actively building every single day? Because the answer to that question, well, that's what's going to determine if your next traffic spike is a total non-event or if it's another full-blown war room.